Good morning. Thanks for joining us. As you know, today is Thursday, and we already finished the quota. Not only did we finish the quota, we also did a brief synopsis of it yesterday already. So what are we left for to do today? Number one is I'm going to be calling everybody over after the class and asking them to share with me the Gamara to see that they did it. Some people already did it. I'm not going to do it again with you because this guy's master, and you are almost a master. Get a little bit better, but yeah, then he did pretty good. And then we're going to call over some other guys as well. But yes, we see some serious enhancement and advancement over here. I'm going to do something very dangerous today. Yeah, Avi's like, yeah, danger. I'm going to be dangerous as far as rabbinic danger, which may make me vulnerable to see how well I could or can't learn. I'm going to share with you a tosfos that I did not yet prepare, which normally, if you prepare a tosfos, then you know it, and then the rabbi says it. It sounds like the rabbi's a genius, and he figured out the tosfos like this. Sometimes I can figure out the tosfos quickly, sometimes not so quickly. But it basically makes me vulnerable. Yeah. Good. So we're going to begin. There's actually not a lot of tosfos on the Gemara that we learned this week, but we will go through some of them. What's that?
It's also like the tosfos are not on the interesting parts of the Gemara either.
Well, tosfos very often takes a not so interesting part of the Gemara and makes it into interesting.
Even the rubber one is like talking about, like we disproved already the Mitzvah. The rubber.
You read rubber one already?
I just looked at it.
What about but our book cases? Is that on the one? Is that on the one that we're learning? It is on this quota. You read it? Because we did speak about it a little before. No, actually didn't. That's it. Arba cases. We spoke about the 4 cups of wine. We then wondered why on earth the rabbis would establish an establishment that could possibly harm us. And then we had a whole Gemara speaking about pears and demons and how to prevent the demons from catching you and attacking you.
We'll get to the witches, though.
Who cares about the witches?
But it's part of the spooky theme.
We'll get to the witches.
Demons.
Huh? This is a witch hunt.
Demons and witches.
Of course. By the way, you should know, just in general, if you want to know, demons are an actual species that were created as part of this world, but they were semi-part of this world. They're semi-part of the reality that we're in and semi-not. Okay? Now, in the science world, they're looking for aliens, and in the Jewish world, we already have them and met them and dealt with them. I'm sure we're going to have somebody going to crop that on YouTube and say, oh, here's a rabbi that said there's aliens. There are aliens. They're there. They're out there. However, we look for them on different planets, but we have to realize that in the universe is a very particular, what I would call a realm of reality. A realm of reality means that the whole physical side of nature is only a limited amount of what actually exists, right? Kabbalah has been speaking for years that there are multiple layers of reality itself, okay? So people say, well, where does a person go when they die? The answer is that they enter a reality that's not necessarily the same physical reality that we're here. They don't go, oh, they die, now we're going to go to the moon. There was actually, unfortunately, there was once a comet, I forget that in the 2000s, I think there was a comet that was passing by, and there was some cult that decided if they killed themselves, then their souls would go onto that comet. And so they all killed themselves. They died. And then the scientists were looking on the comet. They couldn't find them.
What does like Chassidus, I guess Chassidus talks about it, like different, there are different like aliens like on other planets.
Again, there is no mention within Jewish literature that I've at least seen as of yet that mentions whether or not there are physical aliens on a physical planet within the the current realm of reality that we're in. And the realm of reality that we're in includes the entire universe. The entire universe is part of the realm of reality, which means that there's certain rules of nature. It's Asiya Gashmis.
What is Asiya Gashmis?
It's not even the Asiya.
It's the lowest category.
Within Asiya, there's two. There's two sides to Asiya. There's a spiritual Asiya and the physical Asiya. The spiritual Asiya is not within this universe. It is something beyond this universe. I'll give you a simple example. I'll give you a simple example. Somebody's asking me if I believe we landed on the moon. I think it's irrelevant. We probably could have. I don't see why we couldn't have. We sent spaceships into the air. Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. I don't think it's again. But let's go back to what we're saying. According to Kabbalah, we're in the physical Asiya, and I want to explain to you that physical Asiya includes the entire universe that we currently are in at the moment. That's Asiya. Okay, that's the Asiya Gashmis. Right, which means a physical Asiya. There's a spiritual Asiya. I want to give you an example of what does it mean, a different realm of reality. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. What's 1 + 1? 2. Oh, you're a brilliant guy. You came up with the answer. 1 + 1. You have to think for a bit. 1 + 1 = 2. Now I have another question. Where does 1 + 1 = 2?
In Asiya Gashmi. And Yetzirah.
So if I go to Mars, is 1 + 1 still going to equal 2? If I go to the furthest star that's hundreds of light years away, will 1 + 1 still equal 2? Yes, 100%. And that means that 1 + 1 = 2 is a concept. It's not a physical reality, which means it's not something that's limited to any particular time or space within this reality, right? And therefore, if you see that mathematics or concepts, a concept is true, it's not relevant to a particular time or space, right? If something is a factual concept, right? It's as you said, it's in the world of thought, right? It's in the world of thought, which means it's not in this physical world. It's in a different world. It's not in a physically different world like out there on Mars or out there on Jupiter. No. The world of thought is just not within what I would call our realm of reality, of physical realm of reality. So too, Asiya Gashmis is another realm of reality. And in that realm of reality, there is the concept of beings, living beings, right? And those living beings seemingly even interact with each other, right? However, they don't interact like we interact. We're interacting because we have flesh and blood. There's blood and flesh and moving around and a whole physical system of reality. And that starts sending messages in our brains. And those messages in our brains then are transferred through our mouth, which is a physical lips and a physical tongue and physical sound, right? And this is then transferred to you, which you then use your physical reality to intake. However, in these other realities, they have other modes of operation. They have other ways of communicating with each other. You'll say, what are they? Is explained in Kabbalah. You not necessarily could know. You can't necessarily know in this reality because this reality doesn't necessarily have similarities to some of the other modes of operating. So some of the realms of reality, we just don't operate that way. So we can't know. For example, an example given a lot in Kabbalah, if you have a person who never saw in their life, could you possibly explain to them what color is? Could you?
No.
You can't. It's impossible. They cannot understand the concept of color, right? They probably can't understand the concept of sight. I mean, I guess you could explain to them if they could see, if they can't see and they could hear, you could explain to them that just like you, when you touch the wall, you know that the wall is there. We have a way that we can see hundreds of miles away, and we can know what's there hundreds of miles away. So they could know, and that there's some type of detection system that works with our eyes. But they cannot know what color is, and they cannot know how this operating system works. And it's the same exact thing in our reality. In our reality, it's impossible for us to truly understand how these other realms of reality operate, because they don't operate in things that are that we can give an example of, the things that we can understand, that we can grasp, right?
I was gonna ask, but you kind of answered it, is that if there are other species on a different planet or whatever, if it would somehow disprove, like.
So the simple answer is no. It would not be any issue. It would not be if there are physical beings on a distant planet that are somewhat similar to us in the fact that they have a matter versus energy interaction with themselves, like we do, like animals do, right? If that exists, if they do find that one day, that doesn't disprove anything in the Torah, because the Torah doesn't say that there isn't, doesn't say that there isn't. There are various hints to the fact that there are. You have the Nephilim, that it says they fell, which means they fell from heaven. You would think that maybe they were aliens that came from heaven. But again, Kabbalistically, which means that as we were transferred this information from generation to generation, we were also taught that Kabbalistically these are not physical beings that fell from a distant planet, but beings from a distant realm of reality that somehow were able to penetrate into our reality and then come into our physical reality from a reality that's foreign to the physical realm of reality. Okay, and that's essentially what demons. Well, demons are different. We got this started because you asked about demons. Demons are actually a hybrid between our reality and the next to higher reality, which would be Asiya Ruchnis. They are between Asiya Gashmis and Asiya Ruchnis, which means they have physical elements, but they also have spiritual elements, right? And these demons have certain rules of how and when they can interact with our reality, and when they could appear, when they can appear, how they could appear, how they can't appear. However, they have control over certain things that we don't. They have certain senses that we don't. They have certain abilities that we don't, right? And but yes, they still have certain rules that they must operate on that prevent them from. I mean, I guess if they really wanted, they could probably take over the world. Because how could we fight something that has powers that are beyond human? We wouldn't be able to deal with that, right? However, God created this world for a reason, for a purpose, and therefore the demons themselves have a purpose. As we said, some of the demons, they have a way of harming human beings, specifically when they're vulnerable, and specifically there's certain things that you can do that may invite their attention. And what invites their attention is the duality, the number two, or as we said, multiples of two, which means an even number. That's something that can invite the demons. However, even if they're invited, they might not be able to attack you if you're not vulnerable. We said vulnerable could be you're going traveling, you can be going to sleep, you could be having relations, which all make you weaker and more vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, after you invited them, they might have something that they can deal with.
Are there other things that also invite them besides pairs?
It could be. Let's deal with what we're in our Gemara. All Talmud, we're dealing with one thing. We're not dealing with the other. So let's deal with what our Talmud says and not what it doesn't say. Yeah.
There's some people who believe that there are politicians and influential people out there who are actually under demonic possession.
Right.
Whether or not it's true or not, I'm not sure. But there's like
yeah, let me tell you something. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories, right? I actually watched I'm not going to mention him by name. This rabbi who's ranting against this group called the Freemasons. Okay, now, first of all, I know quite a few Freemasons, especially in Australia. It's very popular. You ever check it up? Yes, you never asked. Yeah. No, his definitely put it this way. It's known to me that his grandfather was one of them. Yeah. It's a known thing. I spoke to a few people in Australia. They said he was part of this group. But the funny thing is that this rabbi is ranting and saying how horrible they are and how they're. And if you look up any of the videos that rant against the Freemasons, they always mention conspiracy theories against the Jews, including blood libels against the Jews very often, how we're trying to take over the world. And the Jews and the Freemasons, right? So I'm like, hold on a second. if you're going to accept the Freemason side, you have to accept the Jew side, right? Why are you going to say that the Freemason side, when it speaks about all the horrible things of Freemasons, I'm going to believe that. But when it speaks about the Jews, you're not, because you're saying, I'm Jewish and I know that's not true. Well, if you know that half of the lie is not true, then why don't you think the other half of the lie is not true either, right? If you know that the Jewish side is a lie, so then why don't you assume that the Mason side is also a lie? It's like I'm serious. Like I get really nervous when a Jew goes against the Freemasons. Drives me nuts, because I'm telling you, look it up. Go look it up. You'll see the same people that make up lies and make up conspiracy theories about the Freemasons also do that about the Jews, right? You go find them. Go meet a guy. See, every Freemason that I met so far was a nice individual. Some of them were even very religious Jews. I can mention to you a few in Australia that I'm not going to say. Let them, if they want to say. No, there are Jews. They're goyim. It's a Freemasons. It's like a club. You know, you can join it, and they have things that they do. Every club has interesting things that they do, right? The thing is that they have a very strict policy that you cannot share. If you join this group, you cannot share like the details of what they do in the club. So people come up with all these theories of what they do in the club. They do I don't know, human sacrifice. I don't know what they say they do, right? But and you ask them, do you know that? No, I can't know because it's secret. So why are you making it up? I don't know. Go ahead. Imagine if you had a bowling club, right? But if you entered the bowling club, you could not tell people that you're bowling, right? And so you go secretly, I'm going bowling. No one's allowed to know what bowling is. No one knows what bowling is. Zell, right? And you have a bowling club that does bowling, right? And then some other people are like, oh, there's a secret group. You know what they must be doing? They must be raping children in the thing.
How do from Jews join if they don't know they're like not doing it?
Huh? That's a good question. So why don't you ask from Jew that joined and see why? But there are, I'm telling you.
A lot of those people are projecting, actually.
What I'm trying to say is that when you want to have conspiracy theories, there's conspiracy theories about everything, right? Especially about Jews. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about Jews, and as you probably will read some of those conspiracy theories about Jews and realize that they're 100% lies, you can also put that same idea, once you see that conspiracy theorists make up lies about Jews, then you can obviously take that and put it into everything else they lie about. Like what, you know? Anyways, good. What's that? Candace Owens. What is this? She, right?
Yes. She talks bad about Freemasons
and also Jews. Yeah, I'm telling you, there's this interesting connection between that. That's one of the things that fascinates me about Freemasons, is that one of the things fascinating me. And when I was in Australia, every time I met one, I would sit and talk to them about what's going on. I'd try to schlep out some of the secrets, But one of the interesting things is, for some reason, Freemasons and Jews are somewhat paired together. For some reason, the haters and the conspiracy theorists, they love attacking two people: the Freemasons and the Jews. That's it. That's what they like. I don't know why they like attacking.
Okay, we got it.
You got it. That's it. Move on. Now, but yeah. Anyways, can I know how to? By the way, in America, a lot of Jews joined Freemasons because a lot of Jews in America that wanted to secularize, this is the truth, a lot of the Jews that came to America in the 20s, 30s, 40s, they wanted to assimilate. They wanted to be part of society. And the golf clubs wouldn't let them in, right? I'm serious. The golf clubs would not let in Jews, and very often jobs wouldn't let in Jews. And one of the few clubs that allowed the Jews in was a Freemason. So a lot of Jews joined the Freemasons. Because it was one club of a goyim. There was a club of goyim that they could join. There was one club of goyim they could join. Then you had people like his grandfather, who saw so many Jews, and in the Freemasons, he probably joined because he saw so many other Jews were in the Freemasons. So he decided he was gonna, be later the Yidden in the Freemasons. He went and joined. Go ahead. Yeah. Good. Who? What? Again, I told you, if you want to, you have to find somebody who you could confirm is really part of the Freemason club, and after you confirm that, you can ask them these questions. Okay, but as I can tell you, is that I've met many people that are part of this group called the Freemasons, and I'm telling you as a fact that many of them are Torah observant Jews, and they don't seem to think that there's a major contradiction between the two. Anyways, weitergegangen. Okay, this guy's asking, what is number 166 in Gemara? In Gemara, I don't know. Gematria probably. He said Gemara.
166. It's
Anyways, by the way, anybody out there that's watching could definitely comment if it's something that's interesting. I might mention it during the live feed. Otherwise, not. Meaning, I don't necessarily respond to every single message that I get. All right. Anyways,
They like carve rocks.
who what? Well, whatever it is. Maybe they made this building. Maybe we're living in a mason structure. Anyways, shkoyach. Let's get back to what we're saying. He asked a question and we got derailed on the demons. There's also witches. Witches, the difference of witches is apparently in the Torah, it speaks about various physical things that you can do in this world that could summons spirits that are from other realms. Okay? The spirits of other realms, as I told you, they must follow certain rules. They cannot just, even though they might have the ability to come in our world and wreak havoc, or the opposite, maybe try to save people. However, there's rules. They have rules, just like we have rules. They have rules, and they're not necessarily allowed into this world to do things. However, if they are invited in certain ways, then they could come to this world and they could do things, right? And so black magic, as many people call it, is essentially the ability to do certain things in this world that invite these spirits that are not meant to be in this world. And once they're invited, they can do something, or they can have an impact on this world. And because they were invited into this world by this person, they will very often follow that person's directions. However, it's very dangerous because sometimes the opposite could happen, right? People that are involved in black magic, and I didn't study that too much, but I've spoken to some people that claim to have been. It could be dangerous because sometimes the spirit could backfire and decide to attack you instead of attacking the person that you want them to attack, right? Because once you invite them, they're there. Now, it could be that they say, okay, because you invited me, I'll do what you say. And it could be because you invited them, they'll attack you and bop you on the head, right? Yeah, you got to be careful when you're doing this magical stuff. But that is essentially black magic. Black magic is when they invite spirits that are not meant to be in this world. They invite them to participate in what's going on in this world. That is that, right? Demons are, as I said, demons are actual beings. They're actual beings that already have somewhat of a footing in this world. They're kind of in between this world and the next, right? So they have a bit of a footing in this world already, right? Makes sense? Whereas witchcraft is when there's a physical person in this world that's inviting things. And by the way, not necessarily inviting demons. It does mention in the Talmud that some of the magic is inviting demons, right? But some of it could be inviting other angels or that are not even, that don't even have a footing in this world to begin with, right? Why do we get such a spooky topic over there? Did you write spooky in the message? You did write spooky in the message? That's why. I'm wondering why so many people are coming. They want to hear all this spooky stuff about the demons and the witches. Huh? Officially 9, but this count is not good, but very often it misses counts. Anyways, maybe it's 900. Yeah. I wish. It will be someday we'll get to more than 900. All right. Let's get back to the Tosfos, okay? So for those of you who came to actually study Gemara, let's do this. We're going to the Tosfos about the 4 cups. Yeah? Arba Kaisis, Yerushalmi in the Jerusalem Talmud. Tamon Taninon, over there it was taught. Ein mevashlim yayin shel truma. You're not allowed to cook wine of truma mipnei hu mam'itay, because you lessen it. Truma is holy gifts that were given by Israel to the Kohanim, to the priests. And these priests had certain way, like we have a priest over here, Yochanan Baruch HaKoyen, is one of the Kohanim. And so the time of the Beis HaMikdash would give him 2% of our produce, 1 out of 50. But this produce was considered very holy, and he had to be pure. He had to go to the mikveh before he ate it. There's a whole thing that he has to do before he eats it, right? And it says in the Yerushalmi that it's taught by the Tanaic era that therefore you're not allowed to cook. You're not allowed to cook wine of truma, because if you cook the wine of truma, it's going to disappear into the air, and that's destroying holy food, and you're not allowed to do that. Rabbi Yehuda says no, you are allowed to. So there's a dispute whether or not. Because it says you make it better by cooking. I guess if by cooking you make it better. I'm not sure if you're making it better, if you're making the wine taste better, or you're making the food taste better. Usually when you're cooking wine in food, it's to make the food taste better, right? You're making something better out of the wine. So we have to really understand whether the Yerushalmi, when it says that you're making it better, are we talking about making the wine better or making the wine more valuable because it's cooked in something that tastes good? That is for another day. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Michlafa Shitose, that the opinions are flipped, which means he holds that Rabbi Yehuda holds that you can't do it, and the Tanna Kama holds that you could. The Rabbi Yehuda, Pirush, the Kasani termin Yayin She'enim Mevusral Ala Mevusral, because he says that you can bring wine that's not mevushal onto the wine that is mevushal. What does that mean? If I am giving the gift to the kohen, I have to give the kohen the good gift, right? Now, if I have wine that's bad, right? Could I give the kohen a gift from the wine that's bad? Yes, you have to, because all wine you have to give the kohen a gift, right? So I can give 2% of the wine to the kohen, even if it's bad wine. However, what happens if I have good wine and bad wine? And I want to say, I have, say, 50 liters, I have 100 liters, I have 100 liters of wine. 50 of them are good, 50 of them are bad. Could I say, you know what? I have to give 2 liters of wine to the kohen. I'm going to give 2 liters of bad wine to the kohen and no good wine to the kohen. Could I do that? No. Because you're not allowed to contribute to the kohen from something that's less valuable for something that's more valuable. Okay? You can give him one good one and one bad one. Why? Because you're giving him the bad one, you're giving him 1 out of 50 of the bad wine. The good one, you're giving him 1 out of 50 of the good wine. Right? That you're allowed to do. But you can't give him 2 bad wines because you're giving him a bad wine as a gift to absolve your responsibility for the good wine. That doesn't work because you can't give the good for the bad. You can't give the bad for the intention of the good. You can't do that. Not allowed to. Too bad. You got to respect the kohen and give him what you want. Therefore, if we were to suggest that cooked wine is worse than raw wine, you would not be able to give bad wine for the sake of the good wine. You wouldn't. Right? But Rabbi Yehuda says that if you cooked wine, you are allowed to. Rabbi Yehuda says you are allowed to give the kohen the gift from the cooked wine to absolve your obligation for the bad wine. He says you could do that. What would that suggest? That cooking wine is worse or better? At least the same. Very good. Here we have a Talmudic scholar. At least the same amount. It can't make it worse. Meaning, if you're going to say that you can take boiled wine to absolve the non-boiled wine, it at least has to have similar value. It can't be better. It can't be worse. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry. So Rabbi Yehuda says you cannot do that. You cannot take boiled wine and do it for the raw wine. You cannot do that, says Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda in the beginning, in the Yerushalmi that quoted, seemed to say that boiled wine is not so bad, and here not. So Rabbi Yochanan says we need to flip the opinions. So he learns it differently. Rabbi Eliezer argues on him. Hasam over there. He says no. And according to the Rabbanon, if that's the case, you could use mevushal for the 4 cups. And you could definitely say beiri pri hagafen. Now, you'd ask me, what on earth does Tosfos have to do with our Gemara? The answer is nothing. Nothing. Okay, so this is what I tell you when you're learning Tosfos. Sometimes Tosfos has nothing to do with the discussion in our Gemara. Shalom. What's your name? Shalom. No. Shalom Yosef. Yeah, Shalom Yosef. Yeah, we talk about this. Shalom Yosef. Okay, so listen carefully. This Tosfos has nothing to do with the discussion of the Gemara. However, because the Gemara is telling you that you're obligated to drink 4 cups of wine on the Passover Seder, right? Therefore, Tosfos feels it is important to tell you whether or not you're allowed to use boiled wine. Are you allowed to use boiled wine for the Seder? No, after it was boiled. Yain mevushal.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so according to the conclusion of Tosfos, you could. According to the conclusion of Tosfos. According to the opinions within Tosfos, there are some opinions that say you're not allowed to use boiled wine for 4 cups on Pesach because it is problematic, because according to some opinions, when you boil wine, it makes it worth less. Now, I'm going to give you guys a small lesson in winemaking. Okay, I personally was in New Zealand for many years, about 2.5 years. And when I was there, I made a kosher wine run. And in kosher wine that's made outside of Israel, most of the wine outside of Israel, it says mevushal. Why does it say mevushal? Because pasteurized means it's cooked. The reason it says that is because wine has very strict rules according to the Torah about making it kosher. If a non-Jew or even a Jew that doesn't keep Shabbat, if they so much as move that wine 1 inch, not even an inch, a speck, they move the wine when it's not fully sealed in a container, then that wine is no longer kosher. It's called stam yenom, not kosher. Now that makes it extremely difficult for wine production, kosher wine production, because guess what? Most of the winemakers outside of Israel are not Jewish. They're not Jewish, right? As a matter of fact, many of the wine productions, kosher wine productions, are owned by non-Jews. They own the production, right? But then they want to make wine that they can sell to a Jew. They call up the rabbi, and the rabbi's like, listen, the second any non-Jew touches it, moves it, it's out, it's off. You can't sell to the Jews. So the guy's like, what do I do? So the rabbi's, well, there is this thing called mevushal. If you boil the wine, then up until the boil the wine, only a Jew can touch it. Once it's boiled, the Jew, anybody can touch it. So most companies today that are outside of Israel that are usually producing wine made with non-Jews, Gentiles, most of these people will, at the earliest possible time, they will boil it so that they don't have this problem.
Cooking wine or boiling wine, makes the wine worse.
So apparently, it makes the wine worse. As you can see in this Tosfos, according to some opinions, it can even make it better. Some opinions doesn't make it worse. Some people, the same opinion says it's better.
The actual quality makes it worse.
Apparently, the quality, the value, yeah, good. So that's this Tosfos is basically that. So according to this Tosfos, we conclude that you could in fact make hagofen on wine. You could use it for the Seder Pesach. However, you should know that many people, because of this Tosfos and because of other sources on the matter, you will find that many people are makpid that at least for the 4 cups of wine on Pesach, they specifically drink non-mevushal wine, which is much more available here in Israel than outside of Israel.
Why, if you cook it, do you not care about the...
Oh, good question.
Does it change the status of it?
The whole reason why wine has such strict kosher rules is because wine, being the prestigious drink of the world from the time of the temple, even today, it's a prestigious drink. It's a very special drink, and people used to use this in many spiritual, religious rituals. Right, even till today, I heard. I don't know if we have any Catholics out there. I heard that in some things they have wine, and you stick your finger in the wine and you mix it up, and I don't know what they do with it. But they do something. I'm not Catholic. I can't tell you what they do, but apparently there is a few rituals still done today by other religions with wine. Now, if something is offered, if wine is offered to an idol or is used in a ritual for idol worship, for pagan rituals, then unfortunately we cannot drink that wine. It's not kosher midiaraisa, biblically. However, the rabbi said that since we don't know when a non-Jew touches wine, when he moves wine, we don't know what his intentions are. So therefore, they said that any wine that a person that's either not Jewish or doesn't keep, even if he's Jewish, if he doesn't keep Shabbat, the second he touches the wine, you can't use the wine anymore. That's it. Zel, done, finished. Yeah, and that makes it extremely difficult to make kosher wine. But today they found many places, especially in Israel, where you have so many Jews. Very often they just make the wine in Israel. If you want to get good kosher wine, you have to buy from Israel. Israel's the only place that really produces really top-notch kosher wine. I hope I'm not going to get sued from Bar Tanura. They make Bar Tanura is a company that make wine in Italy. They make wine in California. It's a very good company. The wine are decent. They're good. But personally, I think I'm allowed to say this without getting sued. But I personally, there's the wine that I like most are always the Israeli wines. There's good ones there. There's good wines out there. But again, they're good wine. The Bar Tanura wine from around the world, they're good wine. But I don't think they're as good as the Israeli ones. Israeli wines is definitely the best kosher wines today are in Israel. Huh? No, Bar Tanura is a company. I don't know where they're located, but they make mixed wine in California. They make wine in Italy. I'm not sure. I think they even make wine in France. They're a company. Bar Tanura is a company. They'll go to many places and they'll go to a place that makes wine and they'll say, hey, why don't you make a kosher run with our label? They make their label on the wine, right? So again, I think that they're a good company. If you want to drink if you see Bar Tanura on the label, it's probably a decent wine. They're a reputable company. However, they're not the good. I know there are other companies as well outside of Israel. Bar Tanura is probably the biggest one outside of Israel. There are Kedem. No, Kedem. By the way, Rashi is part of Kedem. Kedem is like a Kedem is actually a Chabad guy. His name is Zaykan. Right. As a matter of fact, I think the official company is called Zaykan Winery, but they have a lot of labels. They have Kedem, Rashi, Farbrengen. They're all under his label. He also makes, but he makes a lot of very sweet. He makes a lot of sweet wines. He very often makes his wine in New York, which is very, very like sweet. It's a little bit like candy. If you want candy wine, then you have that. Yeah. What's that? Correct. The reason why after it's cooked, this thing falls down is because apparently cooked wine. Well, first of all, cooked wine is prohibited for the mizbeach. In Jerusalem, we were not allowed to bring cooked wine on the mizbeach. It had to be raw. And apparently, in general, it's accepted that cooked wine is less winey, right? Which means it ruins the wine a little bit. According to this taste, it's a good question, because if he's saying, good question. It's a good question. Again, this taste is not the only rule about wine. I'm sure there's more tastes about it, etc. Wow, we've gone for a long time here. Let's go back. Let's try to finish all the tastes on this. We only have two more, right? Yeah. We only have two more taisus, so let's have our class, which is officially the non-taisus class. We'll finish all the taisus for this week. And I know how to. Rabba says, he says that the cup of blessing does not connect for evil, only connects for good. As we said, pairs. If you have two cups, you make yourself susceptible to demonic possession, right? Again, if you have an odd number plus you have some weakness, some vulnerability, then the demons can do something to you, God forbid, right? So he says that the third cup of the Pesach Seder, because it's the cup of blessing, the cup of Birchat Hamazon, get off your phone. Hey, yeah, you too. What, do you think I'm only speaking to him? Addicted. People are addicted to their phones. Yeah, they're so addicted they don't even listen to my class. My class is the most interesting class in the whole world, and people, for some reason, they think their phone's more interesting. They're playing this little game over there.
COD is pretty interesting, to be honest.
Huh?
Call of Duty is pretty interesting. Call
Call of Duty? Yeah. I have a Call of Duty once or twice a day. Baruch Hashem. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. I can't imagine somebody doing it for 6 hours a day. Call of Duty. Yeah, I do it. I go for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Guys to be on Call of Duty for 6 hours a day. All right. And I know a little joke every once in a while. Yeah. Good. See, this guy, he was in like the FFB yeshivas, and he's like, if somebody said this in one of the Masiftas, forget about it. They'd be out. They'd be at it. Huh? You. Yeah, if somebody said this in the which Masifta you, if somebody said a joke like I said, a rabbi said a joke like I said in one of their more. Yeah, can I know that? All right. So again, remember pairs, which is an even number, together with a vulnerability, we say makes a person susceptible to demonic possession, right? However, Rava says that the third cup of the Seder, because it's blessing the meal, it's blessing God on the meal, therefore it will only include itself in something that has a positive outcome and will not include itself in something that has a negative outcome, which means that if you drank two, and then the third cup will say, okay, I will connect to the two to break the demonic force. But when four comes, he says, I'm sorry, I'm not connecting to you to reapply the demonic force, right? So therefore, the third cup, because it's a blessing cup, it picks and chooses which side it wants to choose. It'll connect with this one, won't connect with the other one. Even though Rava himself says later, yeah. If you remember at the end of this week's Gemara, we said that Rava already said that v'yishmerecha, which is the number 3 itself, doesn't connect for evil. Then why on earth is he saying that here? Here he's saying it doesn't connect to evil because it is the cup of blessing. Over there he's saying that any time number 3 breaks this influence, right? And this is actually a very cliche Tosfos. And almost every Tosfos, I think about 80% of the Tosfos, the previous Tosfos was not one of these rules, but most of Tosfos is pointing out a contradiction between two pieces of scripture, of writings, or whatever it is, and then it resolves it. Over here, it's seemingly a contradiction. Rav is trying to tell you that the third cup breaks the curse because it's the cup of blessing, but later on he says the number 3 itself breaks the blessing. But again, if the number 3 if all number 3s break the blessings, why would he come to tell you that over here you have a cup to do? Like why would you need it? Yeah, okay, so that's the way you talk, but that's not the way the rabbis talked in the Talmud. They would only add information if it was relevant. Here, it's not relevant. If the number 3 is always going to break the curse, then why would he mention that there's another reason to break the curse? Like, what's the point? How's that relevant? No, he didn't. Where? Then again, no, somebody, you have a different opinion. Very nice. You have a different opinion. But again, the different opinion, let's read the Tosfos. Yeah. Yeah, Tiris Rashbam, the Rashbam answers, Hainu davka memazikin, aval chshofim ikol michash. Oh, the good thing we had. I thought that I just wasted time and tell you the difference between demons and witchcraft. I thought I wasted Yisif's time just trying about something random. It's important to know about it, but some random thing. Little did I know that it was in today's shir anyways, because as I told you, I didn't prepare these Tosfos before. But Tosfos says there's a massive difference between witchcraft and demons. Witchcraft, because it is initiated by a human being, it can always grab onto pairs, which means the whole thing we spoke about later, that the number 3 automatically breaks the ability for demons to attack you. We said the number 5 automatically breaks the ability for demons to attack you. The number 7 breaks the ability for demons to attack you. That's only referring to demons. But if a human being is trying to do witchcraft on a person, they can break all of those and could attack a person using any number of pairs. As long as it's an even number, they can attack the person using that even number. Yeah, that's what the Rashbam says. Yeah, that you got to worry about chshofim, which means, and so therefore the question about the 4 cups was not only talking about demons. The question, why did the rabbis establish 4 cups? The question is like, why would they establish something that could harm you? They weren't only talking about demons; they were talking about demons and witchcraft. What happens if a guy knows we're drinking 4 cups? It's public knowledge, right? It's in the Gemara, public knowledge that 4 cups exist here, right? What if it's a guy, he knows that the Jew is drinking 4 cups that night, and so he decides to do witchcraft to fall onto the pairs to the 4 cups, right? For that, Rava says the cup of blessing protects. Meaning, for that the cup. Everything we said later with the numbers, that's only demons, right? Because demons, in some ways, as I told you earlier, and it's so interesting how I basically gave you a whole share thinking I'm giving you general Jewish information, and it comes 100% relevant to the Gemara we're learning. Brilliant. Godly. How did that happen? Hashgacha pratis. Right? Remember I said earlier that witchcraft has the power to summon spirits that are not necessarily demons. Yes, some witchcraft does. It is spoken out. Some witchcraft summons demons to do something on behalf of the person doing the witchcraft. However, in some situations, the witchcraft could reach spiritual beings that are beyond the demons, right? Which means that they don't have the same rules as the demons. So the demons, which are somewhat have, they might be easier to summon because they're closer to us, because they have this hybrid between our reality and the other reality. So since there is hybrid, they might be able to attack us quicker than some of the other realities. They might be. However, they are limited by these numbers. So the number 3 breaks their curse, the number 5 breaks their curse, and the number 7 breaks their curse. Done. Gegangen. Yeah. However, witchcraft, which may summon things that are not demon. So therefore, witchcraft has the power to harm a person more than demons. Right? And therefore, Rav is saying that the third cup of the Seder, because it's the cup of blessing, that even breaks the power of witchcraft. Meaning witchcraft will not be able to do. Why? Because the third cup says, I'm attaching to the first 2. Once the third cup attaches to the first 2, it breaks the ability for witchcraft to get involved. And then when cup number 4 comes, cup number 3 says, I'm sorry, Mr. Cup number 4, but I'm not connecting to you, because if I connect to you, the witches might grab us. And therefore, I'm not going to connect to you. I'm going to connect to the 2, but I'm not going to connect to the 4. Yeah? And so that is how the Rashbam or the Tosfos resolve this contradiction. Remember, this is actually the perfect cliche Tosfos for all of you that are going to be learning Tosfos in the future, which I hope is all of you, right? This is a very cliche Tosfos. It has a contradiction and it resolves it. That's it. That's pretty much cliche Tosfos. Sometimes Tosfos could have a contradiction and not resolve it. Sometimes it could resolve it in 3-4 different ways and leave it in, we're not sure which way is the most accurate. Right here, it's very simple, right? Contradiction, resolution. Zeo, sei gesund. Wait. As we said, we're going to try to finish all of the Tosfos for this week. Let's go to the other one, which again, I'm still being dangerous because I really didn't learn these in advance. I'm so for 2 for 2. Can I know how to? Let's see. Asara ein b'hem mishum sugos. We said further on in this week's, we said the number 10 breaks the power of zugos. How do we prove that? Because we said that the rabbis established 10 cups by a mourner's house, and since there's 10 cups by a mourner's house, obviously they wouldn't have established something that could cause harm. So we say past the number 10 breaks the whole thing of zugos. Yeah. The leis lei de Rava, the Amar leil kaishal bracha ein mitzaref l'ra, the bo'isen asara kaises ika birchas hamazon. So Tosfos points out that this opinion, which was who? Yeah, which one that says 10? Ula. Ula says that 10 cups cannot be cursed or cannot cause a curse. 10 cups. Why? Because the rabbis established it by the mourner's house. Right? Tosfos points out it must be that Ula doesn't agree with the Rava. Remember, we said Rava says that the cup of blessing, the Birchas HaMazon, that cup breaks the curse. It must be that he doesn't agree with Rava, because if he agreed with Rava, he wouldn't be able to establish his ruling. Again, he established that because the rabbis established 10, must be that the number 10 can't have power. Now, what if he believed in what Rava said, that the cup of blessing breaks it? Well, maybe the rabbis established these 10 because one of these 10 are the cup of blessing, and once the cup of blessing comes in, it breaks the whole power of the curse, and it's done, finished. Yeah. Again, Rab Ula, let's understand it again, slowly. Okay? Ula says the very fact that the rabbis established 10 cups in a mourner's house proves that the number 10 cannot cause harm. Right? That's a proof. It's evidence that the number 10 doesn't cause harm. Now let's take the hypothetical that Rava says that the cup of blessing will always break the curse because it will only combine to help and will never combine to harm. When you do the 10 cups at the mourner's house, one of them is the blessing on the Birchat Hamazon, whichever one it is. No, that's on Pesach. It doesn't say here which one of the 10, but one of them is. And it doesn't make a difference which one it is, because whichever one it is, if you have a number that will combine for the odd and won't combine for the even, or the opposite, it will combine to the even and will not combine to the odd, then it could be even the first cup. Because if it's the first cup, no matter how many cups you have 2 cups, well, then the first cup will say, okay, I'm not here, and then there's only one. If there's 3 cups, then it'll say, okay, there's 3. If there's 4 cups, the cup number 1 will say, well, I'm not here, there's only 3.
Yeah.
Right? So no matter, if one of the cups are Birchat Hamazon, then that could be the reason they established 10. Meaning the reason the rabbis established 10 could be because they knew that Birchat Hamazon was one of the cups, and since it was one of the cups, it breaks the curse. Right? And the fact that Ula said that this is proof that the number 10, in general, even if you're not doing Birchat Hamazon, the number 10 won't harm you. That shows that he disagrees with Rava's opinion about the Birchat Hamazon. Yeah. But if that's the question, then how does he resolve? Now, if you go deeper, here's when you start reading Tosfos, you start realizing that very often Tosfos resolves one problem but opens up another. Yeah. Because if you open this up now, if you accept what Tosfos says, that Ula doesn't hold it a Birchat Hamazon, then the only reason why perhaps the rabbis established 4 was because the number 3 breaks the curse, right? But as we said, the number 3 breaks the curse for demons, but doesn't break the curse for witchcraft. You could argue that Ula holds that witchcraft is as powerful as demons. Could be that he holds. He would have to, but you'd have to figure it out, because Ula would either have to say the rabbis didn't care about the harm of witchcraft, but why wouldn't they? The rabbis should have worried about the harm of witchcraft, right? The only other alternative would be that Ula holds that witchcraft has the same powers as demons. So therefore, the number 3 already broke the curse. Huh? Yeah, but if the number 3 broke the curse, then we're again back to number 10 is not. So it's a good question. It's a good question. According to Ula's opinion, that 10 proves that it breaks, right? That 10 breaks the curse. Right? Then why did the rabbis establish 4 cups of wine? There seems to be no reason. According to Ula, we have a question. The original question of the Gemara seems to be against Ula. Yeah, do you get that? You getting that? The original question of the Gemara is, how could the rabbis establish 4 cups of wine if it will harm you? Ula says that only 10 won't harm you. Right? So if only 10 won't harm you, then how did the rabbis establish 4, which could harm you? Huh?
Why do you have 2 Shabbat candles? Why do we have 2 Chanot on Shabbat?
Good question. Yeah. Good question. Oh, what if well, then she's the third. It's the twins and then her. The luchas, right? The tablets were 2. Right? That's how they got broken.
That's why they got broken.
That's how they were able to get broken. If the tablets were not 2, they wouldn't be able to be broken. I mean, if there was an odd number, they wouldn't be able to get broken.
I mean,
It's a good question. Wow. How spooky was that? Was that spooky?
Is there an answer or no?
I hope it was spooky. Huh?
Is there an answer? Is that maybe let's say something somewhere else, like his opinion?
It's a good question. Put it this way: the fact that once you bring Tosfos and says that he rejects Rava, then you have a good question. Oh, you know what? I just realized here's how you have to be a true Talmudic scholar. I don't know why no one else realized this, But you have to remember there was another opinion that says that each cup was individual. Right? Remember in the Gemara there was a
Yes.
Rava said it's because the cup of blessing breaks the curse. The other opinion is that each cup's individual and separate from each other and therefore doesn't cause a curse. Must be that Ula holds with that opinion. Must be that Ula agrees with the opinion of Ravina and not the opinion of Rava. Or what was the other one? Or Rav Nachman who says Leil Shimurim. Yeah, so one of the two, meaning Ula could either hold like Ravina again. If you take the Tosfos statement for granted, Ula either has to agree with Ravina or with Rav Nachman, which means either because of Leil Shimurim or because each one's separate, but he's just not holding like Rav. So it's not really a question like how does he resolve it. There's another two ways to resolve it. So he must be agreeing with one of those other opinions. Yeah. If what's separate? If 4 cups, we do make a bracha on every cup.
Oh,
Yeah, we do.
I was saying that they're all one.
We make a bracha on each one of the 4 cups on Passover Seder. We say a separate blessing. We do say a separate blessing.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a lot of talk in Shulchan Aruch why we say that other blessing. It's a lot of talk because seemingly it's all part of one meal, and we shouldn't. But there is something about them being separate mitzvahs, so we make separate blessings. Very interesting. All right. Good. So that is the end of our class for today in general. What I'm going to do is, number one, is I'm going to put up a QR code for anybody that wants to join our Talmudic class WhatsApp. If you scan the QR code that's on the screen right now, then you can join that WhatsApp group. You could also ask a question live, but you only have maybe about 15 seconds. If you want to quickly write something, a question on topic, we may try to answer it. Again, I'm not guaranteeing we're going to answer every question, but if it's a question that I feel is relevant to speak about, we will. Otherwise, we won't. And again, we'll leave that Talmudic, the WhatsApp group, the Talmud group open. If anybody wants to scan the QR code and join us, please feel free. And let's go back. How do we get back to chat here? Chat. If anybody's asking questions, we have somebody write 16158. What is that? I don't know what that is. Anyways, if you have a question or comment on anything that we said, now's your chance. Otherwise, we're going to close the feed. Thank you for joining. Baruch Hashem, we wrote spooky on it. We got a lot of people here. We got a lot of people.